Hey, somebody come get y'all cousin, because this man Tory Lanez is wildin'. I get it. He's been traveling back and forth from Toronto, where it's negative 38 degrees, and maybe it's got, some effect on your brain. Maybe it's freezing the gears, from turning in there. But you gotta stop this shit. Now, you all know Tory Lanez has been on this kick recently of saying he's the greatest rapper alive right now, or he's the best rapper, or he's better than this guy, or he's better than this guy. And usually I don't have a problem with people having confidence in themselves and confidence in their pen. A lot of rappers, generically just throw these lines out there talking about how they're the best, or they're the best at this, they're the best at that. I really don't have a problem with that, because as a rapper in this game, you're supposed to view it as if you are the best if you are a rapper's rapper. I don't really have an issue with that. However, most of the people that have said this and said it unironically or said it seriously have had enough catalog of strong albums or strong projects in their discography to justify why they feel the way they feel. Even if they haven't, they've at some point shown in their career that they've taken their lyricism seriously enough to the point where they would say this and you would take them seriously while saying it, even if you disagreed with them. My issue with Tory Lanez really in this whole makeup isn't the fact that he did it with Joyner Lucas and he was able to best him, and isn't that he's doing it currently with Don Q. My issue is really just how much this dude's overall business model has changed. I remember not long ago I saw this clip where Tory Lanez was pretending to be Drake's younger brother for recognition or for more exposure. I believe sometime in 2012, maybe. It might have been a little later, might have been a little earlier, but there was a clip that I definitely remember seeing that he was pretending to be Drake's little brother in order to receive more recognition or exposure. Then a couple years later, once the dude is actually on and making music and making a little bit of a name for himself, making some money, dude starts shooting shots at Drake, saying people who say the six like Toronto aren't cool. And who did we know at the time that was saying, Toronto was the six? It was mainly Drake. Drake was the biggest guy you knew that was saying six instead of Toronto. He had many lines in his singles going back at Drake and sending shots his way. And while I don't really have anything to say whether or not Drake was sending those shots back, there was one line at the end of his More Life playlist where he referenced Daystar, which I'm assuming was a line at Tory Lanez. The minute these two dudes met up, Tory's energy completely shifted from I'm seeking your attention to I think you're a great artist, I have no issues with you. And then even on the Everyday Struggle show, he goes on to say, I thought that Drake had a better diss. I thought that he did this. I'm thinking that his lines are better. I think that this was better than this. And like I said, while he is entitled to his opinion, it's just very telling to see how the energy shifted once he was acknowledged or recognized. So we're already at the point where we can acknowledge the idea that Tory Lanez isn't above doing things for quote unquote clout until he makes it, so he no longer has to fake it. Again, this does not mean that Tory Lanez isn't a talented artist. This doesn't mean that he isn't his own individual. He isn't his own rapper. All I am saying is we have a history of Tory Lanez doing things like this before, and then once he's been acknowledged, changing his energy. So fast forward to the year 2018 November, he gets into a back and forth with rapper Joyner Lucas after saying again how he's so much better than so many people in the rap game right now. Keep in mind, Tory's first album was called I Told You. What does I Told You imply? I Told You implies that I've had something to prove, regardless of why you have something to prove. Maybe because people counted you out, maybe because people held you to a lower standard. Whatever the case may be, you had something to prove. And in having something to prove, you kind of have a chip on your shoulder. So the things that you do aren't necessarily for artistic motivation. A lot of the things that you do are simply to prove the people who thought that you weren't what you said you were all that time wrong. And in his albums, we see a lot of him proving people wrong, a lot of him just trying to go back at his naysayers. The difference between that and somebody like a Meek Mill, who I view as more of an underdog than a guy who's looking to prove something, is Tory Lanez's approach to everything that he's been doing recently has been in response to naysayers, I feel. That's why we got, his recent album, Love Me Now. Like, back then you didn't love me, now I'm sure you do. Like, it's always said with a sense of bitterness to it in a way. And I know he's in a much better, happier position right now, but it's always been in reference to the past, saying something in a way that references someone telling you you weren't going to be able to do something in your past. And now that you're in that position, responding to those naysayers. I say Meek Mill is a bit more of an underdog and a person that I would root for over Tory Lanez, because Meek Mill recently especially didn't seem to be doing anything to cause any of the negative attention to go his way, and at the same time wasn't going at certain artists and trying to cause controversy to get his name up. After seeing everything that Meek Mill had been through, you just kind of wanted to root for the guy because you had so much shit stacked against him. You didn't want to do anything but see him win, and he also didn't go into his songs wearing a chip on his shoulder. Tory Lanez is currently going at so many different artists, saying he's better than this guy, he's better than this guy, going at people like Pusha T and J. Cole, and saying and implying that since they didn't respond to his antics or his taunts, that they somehow just didn't want the smoke. Tory's approach recently has been that of someone that calls out the names of artists who he knows are very popular, while at the same time saying that they don't want the smoke if they don't respond, but then getting the recognition or the exposure if they do. So he's really in a no-loss situation here, unless his bars are just so significantly weaker than his opponents that he just somehow manages to lose completely. But even that isn't my biggest problem with his marketing tactic recently. My biggest issue with it is how he's trying to validate his rapping skills through rap battling or rap beef, when that's not where I view what makes a great or bad rapper. When he went at Royce da 5'9", I wasn't really saying that Royce da 5'9" was better than Tory Lanez in the sense that he's a better rap battler, but I mean, yeah, he is, but I wasn't even considering that. I was considering Royce da 5'9's discography versus Tory Lanez's discography. When Tory Lanez can come out with a project that's more than just the generic trap rap sound, I might give him a little bit more credit. When he can come through with a project that's so much more creative than his current landscape and not saturated with the same material that's already within the climate, then I might give him a little bit more credit as a better rapper. But see, when he keeps saying, I'm a better rapper, or I'm a better MC than this guy, or a better rapper, a better MC than this guy, I'm not looking at him battling people. I'm not looking at him dissing people. You're able to solicit drama, but you don't make great music. That doesn't mean that he's not a good artist. You know, I like a good portion of Tory Lanez songs, but as full bodies of work, full projects, and marketing himself as a rapper on his own aside from drama, would he get this much attention? This dude was trending on Twitter yesterday, and it started from controversy, from saying that he would be better than XYZ. J. Cole had a line in his recent track, Middle Child, where he says, I ain't do no promo, still made all that noise, implying that he let his art speak for itself. I didn't need to do anything extra to get people to pay attention to me. But going back to what I was saying, to measure the greatness of a rapper, I'm not measuring who they won or lost against in a rap battle. I'm not looking at Eminem's catalog and saying, did he win against Benzino? Did he win against Mariah Carey? Did he win against Machine Gun Kelly? As ways to define whether or not he has a great pen. I'm not looking at the back and forth between Pusha T and Drake, or Pusha T and Cash Money, or Drake and Meek Mill as ways to define whether or not they're great rappers. The way I look at rappers are the same way I look at comedians, because they're all artists at the end of the day. Imagine if a relatively well-known comedian had said they were better than, I don't know, Dave Chappelle. How would you quantify what made them better than Dave Chappelle? You wouldn't say, oh, well, you two need to go in a room and insult each other, and whoever makes me laugh more is the person that's a better comedian. You're not going to say that, are you? No, you're going to look at their specials. You're going to look at their catalog. You're going to look at the jokes they've told in their career to define whether or not one comedian is better than the other. You're not going to put them in a room together and say whoever comes out with more laughs at the end of the day is the one that is the better comedian. That's not true. In the same way that you wouldn't look at a rapper and say that because this rapper won in a beef and this one didn't, this one's better. No, you go to their catalog, you go to their discography, you go and look at the bodies of work that they put out. You look at the music that they've released, and Tory Lanez going against the people that he's called out recently doesn't have a better body of work than anyone that he's talking about right now. And his new target right now is Dreamville. JID, Kaz, Boz, J. Cole, Ari Lennox even got in there to talk about the dude's hairline, which, you know, I think it's an overused joke at this point, but it goes to show just how corny people think this behavior is. So I would give Tory Lanez the advice that if you want to prove that you are a better rapper, put out better projects, put out better albums, put out better mixtapes. Don't challenge people to rap beefs, do it with your music. I don't think this is a good way to define what is versus what isn't a great rapper. Marketing drama isn't the same as marketing music. I'm all for friendly competition and for people going back and forth and battling, because I think, you know, a good portion of hip hop should be that. But to define what makes a better rapper, I think it all lies in their catalog. He's marketing himself like a housewife of Atlanta right now, as opposed to just a genuine MC that lets the music talk. So Tory, I would advise, instead of marketing drama and, you know, controversy, even if it is friendly, start marketing music. Start making better music. Start being more creative and adding to the overall music spectrum that you're a part of right now, as opposed to saturating it. That's all. But it's been me. It's been real. Thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Tory, you're corny, but I still like you. So, I mean, hey, if JID versus Tory Lanez happens, I'll still cover it, but I still think the way I think.